Hello and welcome to Grow Your Yoga. My name is Todd McLaughlin. I'm here at Native Yoga Center in Juno Beach, Florida. And today I'm going to point out how to practice the twisting triangle, also known as Parivrtta Trikonasana. The word Parivrtta means twisting and Trikonasana means triangle. Parivrtta Trikonasana, or twisting triangle, is considered a fundamental yoga pose. It is considered a yoga basics posture, or a yoga pose that a lot of us learn in the beginning of our yoga practice. And so with that being said, I want to point out a couple of different ways that you can approach the twisting triangle, whether you're a beginner, so this is perfect yoga for beginners, whether or if you're advanced or you're a yoga teacher and you're interested in different ways of interacting with students and clients with this yoga pose. All right, so with that being said, the Parivrtta Trikonasana, the twisting triangle, is the revolved version of the classic triangle. So just to cover all of our bases, classic triangle, or Utthita Trikonasana, is where both legs stay straight, hips and shoulders are open to the side, and we extend down, aiming, in this case, right hand onto the shin, maybe the ankle, or even the big right toe in Ashtanga style. And in this case, the left arm straight up and looking up toward the hand. So we have what is called Utthita Trikonasana, which is the extending or extended triangle posture. Now notice in Utthita Trikonasana, we are taking the pelvis and the shoulders and the chest to the side, coming out, over and down, and maintaining this alignment as best we can with our pelvis and chest forward. In Parivrtta Trikonasana, which is twisting triangle, we are now bringing our hips into square alignment with the front of the mat. So if I turn towards you, if we're setting up for the twisting triangle, if you bring your hands on your hips, we're going to attempt to bring the hips to square. Remember, if you have any questions during this live tutorial, ask them in the comment question section where you can interact. I will answer any questions you have at the end of this demonstration. If you're watching this video post the live performance, remember you can ask questions in the comment section. I'll answer. And I'm here every single Thursday at 11:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so to set up for the twisting triangle, we are attempting to bring our hips into what we'll call square alignment. A lot of the yoga asana is measured off of, in Ashtanga, this is called samasthiti, in Iyengar yoga, Tadasana, or mountain pose. And the main idea is that in this standing position, we set up the alignment, which is also indicative to the anatomy study, which is called anatomical position. Anatomical position is where we are here, and this is how we're able to use terminology to direct where and what we're talking about within the body. So samasthiti, or this beginning standing pose, is like anatomical position, and we have our hips square, we have our shoulders square, we have our body erect and upright. And so when we're working into the triangle pose or the twisting triangle, I'm going to attempt to bring my hips to this type of alignment while I have my feet separated and turned in the position for the pose. So this is easier said than done. So the first place that we can direct this movement of the hips is down at the feet. We want to look at where are we holding our feet. Now, there is a different type of triangle and twisting triangle in each different yoga style or method. So I am primarily focusing now on the Ashtanga style, Parivrtta Trikonasana, but I'll also blend in a little bit of some of the technique that is inherent in the Iyengar method. All right, so with that being said, the main rule of thumb is to have the two heels on a relative line. Okay, sometimes in the Iyengar method, they take a slightly wider approach so that when we go to square the hips, the right heel would be in line with the right hip and the back heel would be in line with the left hip. In the Ashtanga method, that line is narrowed, more like your feet are on a balance beam. And so it is a little more challenging to make this sort of hip rotation. So the other element that we want to look at is how are we holding the back foot? And so if we first separate our feet to about a little wider, well, actually about 3.5 feet. And this is a good question. Let's go back a bit. How wide should my feet be? One of the answers to this question is that we are creating a triangle with our legs from one foot to the other foot, up to the center at the pelvis, and back down. So the answer to the question can be the distance of the length of the leg from the hip at the femur down to the foot would have the same distance across from one foot to the other. And then in this sense, we're making an equilateral triangle. All three sides are about the same. And that's important because a lot of times we'll see people wanting to set up their twisting triangle with this really narrow stance, which is fine. But there is this idea of separating it wide enough, and we don't want to go too wide. If we go way too wide, that has a challenging effect on the hips in relation to how we would set up our triangle. All right, so the basic answer is about 3.5 feet apart. All right, if we were to measure this distance, it's usually around about there. I know everyone's bone and leg length is completely different, so that's why it'll be dependent upon your skeletal anatomy. All right, so what to do with the feet. In the Parivrtta Trikonasana, the twisting triangle, we turn the right foot, the direction that we're heading to twist into is going to be straight out. The back foot, in my opinion, turn the left foot in about 45-degree angle. Okay, so because, and let me point out why. If you take your back foot and you angle it, we'll call this 90 degrees, where it's in a straight line with, say, the back of your mat. When we go to bring the left hip forward in this case, it's very difficult to make that sort of rotation when you have that foot turned out. If you take your back foot and you angle it in about 80 degrees or turned in slightly, then when we go to rotate the hips, it's much easier to make that hip rotational motion because you've accounted for that by bringing the foot in. But the other thing that's important is the way that we work the balance in this pose is through the coordination of pressure across the sole of the bottom of the back foot. So in other words, how you press into the ball of the foot and how you direct pressure through your heel is really how you're steering a lot of the balance. So we have the legs set up with the proper width. We have the feet turned in a way that'll help facilitate what we're attempting to do. Now comes the next big piece. If you put your hands on your hips, we are going to attempt to square the hips to the front of our mat. The front of the mat in the direction that right now your right foot is going. Easier said than done. There's no such thing as perfect. We try the best we can. Now, if you hold onto your hips, when you come forward, we're going to attempt to fold as far forward as our front leg hamstrings, the back of the leg, so this front leg, but the hamstrings on the back of the leg. At some point, you're going to find your edge, and you're going to want to bend your knee. In the beginning, just to test the water, don't bend the knee. Keep the leg straight. Keep both legs as straight as possible. And now that you've established this forward bend position, we're going to cross the left hand down on either to the right knee, or you challenge your flexibility and come down the shin, and or you come all the way down to the floor and touch your hand onto the floor. I'll show you ways that you can use props, but right now let me just get the logistics of the alignment concepts in place, and then you can determine if you want to utilize blocks or straps as you move forward. Not a strap in this, but sorry, blocks. All right, so with that being said, I come forward. I don't bend my knees. And if it's challenging for me, I'm just going to put my hand onto my knee. Let me turn this way so you can see. I'm going to find where my hand is on my knee, and then I'm going to take my right arm, and I'm just going to try to reach up. I have a very simplified Parivrtta Trikonasana, but here what I'm attending to is working the hamstring flexibility. I'm not really going in for a really deep twist. I'm working more my attention and awareness of the alignment of my hips and my legs. Once I get that foundation in place, I'm going to start to work a little bit more on the twisting part. The twisting part Notice how this sort of pivot swivel motion that I'm doing with my body. And so what happens is that if I lean the hip out to the side, I feel like I can bring my hand down more. But there's this idea in twisting triangle where imagine there's a pane of glass on one side, a pane of glass on the other, and the vice grip is getting squeezed, and the panes of glass come closer together. So in theory, we'll attempt to bring the left shoulder above the left hand, the right shoulder above the left shoulder, and the right hand above the right shoulder. So that will create this sort of vertical line. So notice if I really try to bring my hand down and my hips swing out to the side, I've really lost that vertical line. The vertical line is going to come from pulling the right hip back and bringing the left shoulder above the left hand and reaching up. Well, easier said than done, of course, right? Let me demonstrate the other side. So I turn my right foot in. I'm going to angle it in slightly at 45 to 80. The left toe is directly out front. I pivot the hips to get them nice and square. In this case, I'm facing my left leg. Forward fold to the point that my both legs are still straight, but I feel hamstring stretch. Right hand comes across and lands on the knee to start. And I bring my left arm out and really focus on squeezing your belly. Anytime you're doing twisting motions where you're folding the body out in front of the hips, it's really important that you engage the strength of the abdominals and to really just stabilize and have control over your midsection. So we want to try to create the movement from the stability from the center. So we don't worry about making this really beautiful, I don't even like to use the word perfect, this really incredible expression of the pose without having the details in place first. And so in this case, I was going over to the left leg. I have my left foot turned out. I square off the hips. I bring my right hand down. Now, as I try to bring my hand down, I'm going to attempt to keep my hips square. In this case, I've taken my left hand and placed on my back onto my hips so that I can feel which way are my hips going when I'm in this pose. Because sometimes we have no idea where our hips are. You bring your hand down the shin as far as you can go. And then in this case, I'm going to take my arm up. Now notice I have my hand on my leg. I only have 2 points of contact, my back foot and my right foot. Twisting triangle is a little bit easier to do once your hand can touch down to the floor. Because then we add a third point of contact to the ground, and you can balance off of the hand pressure and the foot pressure. So you're really working on building this balance, stabilization process to work into the rotation and twist of the upper body. Twisting triangle is a fairly advanced posture, in my opinion. The nature of it is one that it is a challenging pose. This pose is really good for anyone that's involved in swinging sports such as baseball or golf or pickleball, because it helps us to build our rotational ability with our spine and to help generate the core. Also, if you do have back problems, you have to be careful when you're twisting. We don't necessarily, if you have degenerative disc issues anywhere along your spinal column, be it the base or the neck, you can hold the stability and reduce the amount of twisting motion that you put in the spine to accommodate so that your back feels good. So keep that in mind. The goal is not necessarily just to twist deeper and deeper. I think one of the main goals is to build strength and coordination and flexibility so that we can do pain management, really. And or when you're young and you don't feel pain yet. I'm 50 now, so trust me, I feel some pain. We've got to figure out how to do this where we can do this for the rest of our lives. All right, so we're going to go into the twisting triangle. Now let me show you what you can do with a block. The blocks are a way to make the pose a little more stable. I know in the hardcore Ashtanga tradition, they don't let you use blocks. Let me even show where the chair could come in place. So if I'm going for a twisting triangle and I'm having a hard time getting the balance, I can put my hand on a chair, which is nice and high, and start to work the twisting element from up here. the main thing that I'm focusing on is I'm going to attempt in twisting triangle to keep both of my legs really strong and straight. And that's I think this is important because we do have a pose coming down the pike called extended side angle and twisting side angle. I created a video recently to explain how to do the twisting or the revolve side angle. So if you enjoy this, definitely go check that out. So again, if I switch over to this side, if I need stability, I can use a prop like a chair to be able to lean on. And now I have the leverage and balance to approach the twisting triangle in a fun and safe manner. All right. However, a chair might be a little higher than necessary for you, in which case you can utilize a block. Remember, a block has 3 different heights. It has low, medium, and high. Let's start on high. High isn't as stable because you're balancing on a small surface. However, we're going to try it anyway. I'm coming in for the twisting triangle. I step out to the right. I turn my right toes out. I angle my back foot in. I have my 2 heels on a relatively straight line. I'm going to take the block in my left hand, place the block onto the floor. I'm going to start off on the inside edge of my right foot. That way, we can lean on our left hand, and you can reach your right arm up nice and high. Now, some of the leverage in the Parivrtta Trikonasana comes from the ability to push down. You push down to go up. So if you're just kind of limping your left arm and you're trying to reach up, focus mostly on really pressing through the bottom arm and then extend up through the top arm. All right, good. Let me show you on the other side. So if I was going for the left side, let me go ahead and turn this way. So I bring my right foot in, my left toes out. I'm holding the block with my right hand. I try to get my hips relatively square. I place the block onto the floor, hand on block. Feel the hips. Hips are square. Left arm reach up. I'm going to lean down against my right arm to pull or reach my left arm up. I'm going to squeeze the belly in really strong, and I'm going to tighten both thighs so you engage the thigh, the quadricep muscles, feeling a nice even balance across the posture. Good. And then the full expression in the method of Ashtanga yoga is to do like so. Eliminate the props. Coming in. Right foot's turned out, left foot turned at a 45, hips square to the front. Forward flex as far as you're able without bending the knee. Left hand comes down. I'm going to go all the way to the ground on the outer edge of the right foot. Plant the palm. Fingertips level to the toe tips. Right arm reach up. Align the shoulder above the foot in hand. And extend and reach the right arm all of the way up. Good. I'll turn this way for the other side. Left toes turn out. Square off through the hips, forward fold as far as I'm able, bring the hand down. If flexibility permits, hand comes all the way to the outer edge of the left foot, square off the hips, don't swing or sway way out to the side, lean the pressure down against the hand and the foot, extend up through the left arm, turn the chin, and look up at the hand as the drishti. Good point, I should bring that up. If it's really tricky for you to balance, look down. When you have the balance, make little incremental shifts with your neck. Turn your gaze slowly, and then look up in the direction of your hand. And this way, we are able to hold the balance and move the drishti, the focal point, without turning the head so fast that you feel dizzy and you lose the balance. So anytime you're in a compromised position where you're being challenged, and you need to shift the drishti, slow, baby steps, move your eyes a few feet at a time, and turn and gaze in the point that you look. I think I covered most of the basics. A couple of questions. Actually, let me see if I have any questions for those of you that are viewing live. And if you are viewing live and you don't have a question, but you just want to let me know that you're here and watching, I appreciate any feedback. All right, so let me cover a couple of the elements that sometimes we see. Coming in for the twisting triangle over to the right side, left foot in, right foot out. One of the main things we see, back foot's angled way, way, way out. So that's the first thing we'll address. Usually start from the feet and work your way from the feet up the same way you would build a building or a skyscraper. You're going to build the foundation and go floor by floor until you get to the top. So you start from the place of stability, which is the feet. That's of utmost importance. And when we work the rotation of the hips, turning as much as possible. A lot of what we see is this bending knee approach. Cool, I got my hand on the floor and I'm reaching up. This is just a different posture. So I think don't go down all the way with your hand. Keep your legs as straight as you can, and even if you stay up really high right here and work your twisting triangle from this angle where you have engagement of your core, you got your bandhas involved, you got your abdominal muscles contracting, and you feel some stability in the center, and then work into the stretch, you can really access the hip. And part of the benefit of this posture is the amount of stretching that you're able to achieve on the lateral and posterior edge of your hip. You have your gluteus maximus, you have your gluteus minimus and medius here, and then also you have your TFL, your tensor fasciae lata muscle, which is connected to the IT band, the iliotibial band. So the Parivrtta Trikonasana does an epic job of stretching all this musculature out on the side of the hip. So it's just an amazing posture, and it is a difficult one, but it can be really fun as well. Remember, just take it slow and steady. We're not competing or trying to look cooler than anybody else. This is for you. Focus on your breath. Focus on your attention. Let the practice of the asana take you deeper into states of concentration, awareness, meditation, samadhi, bliss. Yeah, why not? All right, so I think that's about it. Remember, if you have any questions, send me an email at info@nativeyogacenter.com. Check out our website, nativeyogacenter.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at Native Yoga. And if you are on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified every Thursday when these videos are coming out. You can join in live, ask questions. I love it. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. I'm getting ready to start another one right here at 12. So if you are here live, stick around. I'm coming right back.